The following episode of the Maui Chamber of Commerce's Business Matters was originally broadcast on July 18th, 2023.
It's time now for Business Matters, brought to you by Mokulele Airlines. Now here's your host, Pam Toonpop. Good morning, Pam.
Hey, good morning, Gary. How are you?
Very good. Are you ready for the storm?
Oh my gosh, we always are ready. The Chamber, we teach disaster preparedness and how to put together a kit. So we are ready, but we are glad to see it's diminishing.
Yes, so am I. We could use a little bit of rain, though, just, a nice little sprinkling.
That's right. I would be grateful for that. No flooding. Some nice sprinkling would be awesome.
Yes.
Keep Maui green and beautiful. Well, thank you for all you do for us, Gary, and so great to be back to Business Matters. Want to welcome everybody to the show. I'm Pamela Toonpop, president of the Maui Chamber of Commerce, and today we're going to talk with Elizabeth Sonvilay to learn more about AT&T's newest projects in Hawaii. We'll get an update on some important West Maui projects from Joe Pluta, president of the West Maui Taxpayers Association, and we're going to learn more about Maui Electricians, a local business on island. But we're going to start this morning, and I want to tell you a little bit about Elizabeth. Elizabeth Sonvilay has been the Director of External Affairs for AT&T in Hawaii, overseeing government and community affairs since 2019. She was born and raised on the island of Oahu and is an alumnus of Lewis and Clark College and the University of Hawaii William S. Richardson School of Law. Good morning and aloha, Elizabeth. How are you today?
Good morning, Pam. Good. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, we're thrilled to have you on the show and so excited to learn. So much is happening in broadband, and we are thrilled to see better connection between our islands and the mainland and abroad. AT&T has been working on many different projects, and I understand that you have two main drivers right now for expanding networking, FirstNet and high demand. Can you tell us a little bit about FirstNet and what that means?
Yeah, of course. So FirstNet is a dedicated broadband network for first responders. The concept actually came out of the events of 9/11 because there was a lack of adequate communications, including between agencies during that event. So in 2012, Congress passed a law establishing the FirstNet Authority within the Department of Commerce and tasked the FirstNet Authority with creating, operating, and maintaining the first responder network. The FirstNet Authority issued an RFP, actually, and AT&T applied and was awarded our current 25-year contract as a result in 2017. So now AT&T has a public-private partnership with the FirstNet Authority to build, maintain, and operate the FirstNet network nationwide.
Wow,
so the really neat thing about this network is it gives users, mainly first responders, but it can also be those critical to emergencies like utilities, with priority and preemption, which expands their communications capabilities and reliability. And so to describe it another way, we've all been in situations where we're in a crowded place, like a concert or a sports game, and there's definitely supposed to be cell phone service, but it's so slow, calls and texts don't go through. And that's because the network is congested. But people with FirstNet will have no problem. That's the point of it. They're supposed to have priority. They're supposed to be able to make their connection, make their call, and have their communication because this is for emergency response.
Wow. First of all, just fascinating to know that, again, you think of things going back to 9/11 and that tragic time, and to know that, okay, after that happened, as I think we all do in times of crisis, is we go back and we say, okay, what can we do better? What are the things that we need to fix? So to have you have this long-term contract is great. To put this in place and have AT&T dedicated to working on this is awesome. So tell us a little bit now about how this FirstNet responder network impacts Maui County and Hawaii.
Yeah, so I would first say the FirstNet network is on air and being used today across Hawaii, including Maui County. But of course, the network only works where we have a network. So we've definitely got a lot of work ahead of us. And I'll just start with the work began, back in 2017, actually, because this was created by the federal government. All states and territories had to decide whether to be a part of this network or build their own that would be interoperable with it. And then all states and territories, including Hawaii, ended up opting in. And it's really important, I think, for this network, especially for all states, to have input into what the network should be and what it should look like and how it should, provide the needs that are promised. And in Hawaii, like how we do other things, right? It's not just the state and the counties all provide input. And so Maui County, your public safety representatives have all provided input into the needs in Maui County. And so as part of opt-in, we did have a commitment to build sites in certain areas. This was the same across the country. And so we've been building those new sites. More are coming. I think our most recent one in Maui County is a site at Pu'umahoi, past Wailea, but on the covering road going toward Hana. I know that area was really important for road coverage. Yeah. And I remember in the Planning Commission, people talked about how people go fishing there, and there wasn't cell phone service before. But if somebody were to fall in the water or something were to happen, people can call 911 now, and public safety will have also their FirstNet network along the road too for a little bit longer. Right? I know that's a really long stretch of road that is typically doesn't have coverage. So lots of more new sites coming, and more to come. For sure.
Well, that's exciting to really hear, because one of the things that I learned during the course of the pandemic was that Hana had one ambulance. And so if somebody was injured and that ambulance, say a visitor was injured and that ambulance was deployed, then you had this huge challenge. And so to know now, and as you say, in remote areas, fishing sites, we hear those stories a lot, or people in hiking areas where they shouldn't be and so on.
Right.
Now we've got some coverage out there, so that's fantastic. I don't think a lot of people know about this FirstNet, so I'm so glad to have you on and we're talking about this, because
yes, absolutely.
This is a really important network that we should know about. And so, as you're building out, and you talked about the community involvement, I'm so grateful that it's not just the state advising. You've got our Maui County advisors as well. Is there a way the public can also ring in or share, or how would they, do they report to Maui County? Do they report to AT&T? How do they get involved if they have concerns about areas?
Oh, that's a great question. We do have an inbox, actually, that I'm happy to share on this show. It's called ATT Hawaii Info at att.com. That's monitored daily. We put it on some of our notifications when we have new sites coming in. But, I would welcome anyone, if you have issues in your area, to feel free to reach out and let us know. But feel free to also go into our retail stores and notify those folks. I know that they hear it all the time, and they certainly report it back to our network team. But I'm happy to do the same as well.
That's awesome, because especially as you're building out the network, if somebody wanted to know, is it in their area, or as we're preparing for a storm today, this is a good time when people could say, hey, today may be a test, we don't know, and so we'll have an opportunity for people to get input or to find out if where it's nearest to them and what kind of coverage they have. That would be fantastic. We don't want to flood everybody, but if you've got some areas that you're just not sure. I mean, obviously, if you're getting cell phone coverage, that's awesome, and you'll know right away. But this is a good thing to know about and to know that it's being expanded and really going to help us moving forward. And unfortunately, it's sad that it comes off of the heels of 9/11, but it's one of those things that is building us stronger, which is tremendous. The other big thing everybody's talking about is high demand. We're just seeing so much demand that as we're seeing expansion with broadband, we're still finding a little bit of delays and things. So I know you're working on a number of projects. Can you tell us about the projects you're currently doing in Maui County?
Yeah, and just to highlight how high of a demand we're seeing,
yes.
I have a graph that shows since 2007 until now, so basically the invention of the iPhone, we've seen AT&T network demand increase by over 1 million%. And
wow.
just in the last few years, right, during the pandemic especially, and then technology continues to increase, it's just an exponential increase since 2019. And, that demand, right, it's coming from phones. People have multiple phones now, one for work, one for personal use, iWatches, various house appliances that might connect to the network. So all that puts more and more demand on our network. And what that does, though, is it strains our network, right? Our infrastructure can only handle so much traffic, and so we're having to keep up with the demand. And, we just talked about sites going on because of a public safety need. But what we've noticed, especially during the pandemic, is the other great thing about these sites and where they're going. A lot of them are going in rural areas, and that became, such a highlight during the pandemic. So, I think we're really happy about that. We're adding our commercial band to those areas too. So, those who had to get hot spots, right, et cetera. Rural access is certainly expanding, and we're happy to do that and hope to continue that. But also with high demand areas where, there is existing service. I know I have friends who talk about how, hey, I used to have really good service and now it's so slow. It's because of all that congestion and all of the additional connections to that site. And that site is just slowing down because it's handling so much traffic. So we do a few things to address areas like that. First, we only build new sites where we have to, right? We look at a series of tools in our toolbox. So sometimes the first thing we do is if we can upgrade a site with more recent technology, or we have additional capacity we could add to the site, we will just upgrade the site and make use of that existing site and allow it to handle more traffic and allow that traffic to move faster, basically increasing reliability and speed. If we have to build a new site, obviously our FirstNet sites in rural areas, those have to be built. Sometimes in places with weak coverage, we build another site because we've just determined that's really the best way to offload the traffic. Another kind of newer thing we're doing too is we have not built small cells yet in Maui County, but I know that the network team has plans to do that. We've got lots of those on Oahu. But small cells go in areas where there is existing traffic. They're little tiny antennas with just a couple radios that go on top of utility poles. So in your case, it'd be Nico poles. And these really typically go into high-density traffic areas. So for you guys, it'd be Front Street, Lahaina, where there's just a lot of people. And so if you put a small cell, on a pole in an area where there's just going to be a lot of traffic, that small cell will pull the traffic onto that, the small cell basically, and it will alleviate the traffic from the nearby macro site, the traditional cell site, basically taking traffic off and allowing that bigger site, to have better reach in the broader area. And so these are just some of the ways that what we're doing to kind of help expand our network, and then obviously continue to have a reliable, good network for everyone's use. Well,
and that's exciting to hear, because I would love to know just in terms of deployment. I know when you have to look at a new site, there's a time frame there that's going to be considerably longer than, say, adding a small cell. What's the difference in time frame to add a small cell versus if you have to look at and building a new site?
Yeah, that's a good question. It depends on the new site. It depends on if the new site is going on an existing structure. It might not take as long. But a brand new site where we have to build from the ground, can take a couple of years to a few years. I've been working on some projects with the team that it has already taken several years. And it's all about the process, right, with especially the traditional sites. We have to find, first identify the area for the coverage that is needed, and then we have to find a willing landlord. And then you go through the design process and planning, and then permitting. And usually, in most places, we'll need a conditional use permit, so we'll go to the planning commission. And so that's, probably the longest process. For small cells, though, it just sort of depends. Some areas we have a really good process, and there just isn't as much, I think, permitting, for example, that might need to be involved. But for some small cells, there is quite a process. We got to make sure that there's power connection, fiber connection, and so it's also working with our partners and in the timing of delivering that too. So lots of different moving parts in all of these projects.
It is. And as you say, different partners coming together.
Small cells, can take about 1 to 2 years too. Not a super short process either.
Okay, well, that's good to know, because you were mentioning Lahaina, and I was thinking, do we have a project going on in Lahaina?
We just have a couple of things actually going on. Currently looking at small cells in Lahaina, for sure.
Oh, good. Because, excuse me, you mentioned that, and I thought, boy, that is a high-traffic area.
Yeah. And
something that we definitely want to look at. Well, you have been just such a treasure of information this morning, Elizabeth. Thank you so much for joining us on Business Matters and updating us on the work that AT&T is doing on FirstNet and building out the network and addressing these areas. Because, I think also, as you shared with us, we don't think about all of our smartwatches and Alexa and all of the things that we're now using that we didn't use before. So to know that, the demand has gone up by 1,000,000%, I think I'm sitting here thinking, wow, that's just an astronomical number. But when you break it down to all the home appliances and the multiple phones we have in households, and we've been talking about how many households have multi-cars when there's traffic on the road and we think it's the visitors. How many households have multi-cars? And when you've got multi-generational households, I was talking to somebody, and they actually said, my gosh, in our household we have 6 cars. Uh-huh. And now you think about that related to the broadband network and how many of us in our household have multiple phones, mm-hmm. plus, iWatches, plus the appliances. It might be an interesting contest to see who's using all this bandwidth, who's got the most appliances in these areas and devices that are really on the network that we don't think about every day. So thank you for illuminating us to these really important facts and the great work that you're doing. It's been a joy to have you on.
Thank you so much, Pam. Thank you for having us.
It is my great pleasure, and we'll do it again. We'll get, maybe in a quarter or so, we'll get another update.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, I wish you blessings and aloha and have a beautiful day.
All right. Take care.
Thanks. You too. Stay safe and hope all the towers are okay. Oh, so great to have Elizabeth on. Just isn't that fascinating? I'm just blown away to know over 1,000,000% of growth and demand in just a few short years. That's incredible. So we are going to hear from Joe Pluta next after we take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, Mokulele Airlines.
Mokulele Airlines operates the largest commuter airline hub in the country, right here in Kahului. Fly Mokulele from Kahului to Molokai, Lanai, Hana, Waimea, Kona, and now Hilo. Mokulele also operates the only flights between Kapalua and Honolulu. There is never a middle seat on Mokulele, and every seat has a window and aisle. Visit mokuleleairlines.com and take your next flight from the newly renovated Mokulele Terminal.
Welcome back to Business Matters. That was a very interesting conversation with Elizabeth, Pam.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
I mean, I never think about all those things, but imagine trying to keep up with that, trying to keep building a network with
I know.
all the new technologies emerging.
Yeah, that's more than I could fathom. So I'm going to give Joe a call right now for you, so go ahead and...
Oh, good. Fantastic. Thank you. And I'll introduce him as you get him on the line. Oh, so, yeah, that was really an amazing conversation with Elizabeth. It's sure opened my eyes this morning, and we keep hearing how important the expansion is for broadband, and we're grateful in Hawaii that so much work is being done to connect our islands and rural communities. So to know though that as we're doing that, we're competing with technology and different things that give us conveniences in our life, but then drain the networks is fascinating. Next, Joe Pluta is going to be joining us. He is the president of the West Maui Taxpayers Association. And if you don't know Joe, he is a great treasure to our island. He has diverse experience, 30 years in the real estate and travel industry in Hawaii. He devoted many years to a myriad of diversified positions from the ground floor up in restaurants, hotels, and condominium hotels. Originally from Chicago, he came to Hawaii in the submarine service of the U.S. Navy. He worked in various positions in the travel industry while he attended the University of Hawaii and graduated with a BBA in Travel Industry Management and Real Estate. He is a current member of the Lahaina Rotary Club and volunteers on a number of committees in this community, very actively involved in West Maui, but across the broader community as well. And it's always a treasure to have him on, and he's going to give us several important updates. Gary, have you been able to connect with Joe? Or they might be on the phone right now.
Hello, Joe, are you there? I thought I had him on.
Okay.
Oh, I guess not. Let me try again.
Okay, no worries. So one of the key things that we're going to start off talking about with Joe is the Kahana Bay Restoration Project. And so we'd love to get an update on what's happening at Kahana Bay. So much important work happening out there. And we'll see if we've got him on. Speaking of cell phone issues, we usually capture Joe on his cell phone. And my computer's bing-bonging today while we're waiting for Joe to come on. Not sure if you as a listening audience can hear that.
It's going directly to his voicemail now.
Okay. Well, we'll...
I'll keep trying.
You'll keep trying. Okay. He also, he's going to come on today and talk to us about some things that the West Maui Taxpayers is looking at, talking about supporting the adoption of community facilities district policy. And so we're going to have him tell us all about that and why he feels that a community facilities district policy would be really helpful. And the other thing, if you haven't seen, this has been going on for quite some time now. At least I feel like the last year they started it. The Oluwalu Fire Station. They are building a unique fire station with a unique building, but in Oluwalu area, because this is a critical area where we see fires. It's been a top priority for the West Maui Taxpayers Association, and it's a project that really is critical to the area, given, the highway out on the west side. And there are so many ways that everybody can contribute. So while we're waiting for Joe, as he talks about the fire station, If you live in that area, if you live in Lahaina, you know those fires out on that side. Please contribute to the Olawalo Fire Station if you haven't done so already. And in addition to that, those of us who love Lahaina and love going to Lahaina and care about our islands, this is another way you can also give back. And if you're a visitor listening in, the West Maui Taxpayers Association on their website has ways that you can contribute. So we really want to engage all in giving to the fire station, and Joe will tell us more about that when we get him on. And I'll check in with Gary just in case.
Still no luck, Pam.
Still no luck.
Voicemail.
Oh, no, I hope his phone didn't die. And he's.
Do you want me to go on to our next guest and see if he's ready early?
Why don't you check with Zach and see if Zach's ready?
Okay. All right. Hang on.
Awesome. Well, and while we're waiting for Zach, we've had the pleasure recently in June. Some of you may have heard about it earlier. Cindy Paulus invited me on her travel show, and we talked about the Chamber and the County of Maui going to a program was Maisie Hirono's brainchild called Hawaii on the Hill, representing Hawaii with United Chambers across the state and the Chamber of Commerce of Hawaii. And Maisie and her team work with the Chamber, and they arrange a policy summit. We talked to our congressional leaders there. We talked to congressional leaders from other states. There's networking events. We have the opportunity to hear from critical agencies doing work in Hawaii. We had an opportunity to learn about the Farm Bill, hear from the SBA Director Isabella Guzman and others. Great time in June. We were up there for a week, but it all culminates in what is known as the Taste of Hawaii. And other states do this, which was what created in Maisie's mind the idea that she should bring Hawaii up. But knowing with our travel costs, it was important to not just come up for a tasting event, but a broader event, so that it was really worth our time to have that travel expense to spend time in D.C. And so she has made it a really important event for us every year. And at the Taste event, we have about 2,000 congressional leaders and top staffers coming through the doors of the largest Senate conference room we can get, with companies from across the state serving a variety of products that people cherish. And representing Maui County, we bring products from Maui, Molokai, and Lanai. We know our small companies can't come up, so we bring a variety of products. And so we have over this year was 3 tables. We served 9 products across 3 tables, ranging from chocolate to cookies to Uncle Louie's sausage to hibiscus tea, honey from Lanai, venison products that take in the meat from across our islands. And it was a really great event, and Mayor Bisson and volunteers helped us out, and it was really wonderful to showcase. It's rapid. It's like, imagine, you're in a huge room and 2,000 people are coming through, and they're just so eager to get the products that they're quickly grabbing them and excited to try them and talk to you about it. It's a great way to promote Hawaii. So we are thrilled to get to do that. And it was a wonderful event, and you're going to hear more about it because the mayor is excited to build us a bigger event for Maui County, a bigger presence within that event this coming year. And I understand Zach Meade is on. Aloha, Zach. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Oh, great. Well, let me just do a quick intro. Zach moved to Maui in 2007 from a small town in South Dakota. His family had a general contracting firm, so he grew up around the construction industry, and as such, he got to see a myriad of trades. But he chose to focus his career in the electrical industry. He has 16 years of experience in the electrical industry and over 30 years experience in the construction industry. He enjoys traveling, fitness, and surfing, so clearly Maui is perfect for him. And he is now here serving our community through Maui Electricians. So, Zach, tell us now a little bit about your background and, how you got all this experience in electrical work.
Yeah, so my background, mainly like I you said a little bit is my family grew up in the general contracting industry, so I got to see everything, in a house being built, and then I saw the electrical was what caught my eye the most, and so that was what I really focused on, and I started learning about it, and then as soon as I could, I actually got hired on through my grandpa's sub as an electrician, and so then I started doing that, and then over the years, I just I worked built hospitals and power distribution centers and a lot of different things, and so I got my eye on a lot of different aspects of the electrical industry also, and then when I moved to Maui, I started working towards getting my contractors here, and so I got that, and now I focus primarily on building automation, and so that's kind of a synopsis of what my journey.
So tell us a little bit about your focus on building automation.
Yeah, absolutely. So the industry right now is basically, there's a gap in the industry because most people in our generation, you see a lot about technology versus, hands-on and working in the industry. Building automation really connects the gap with that. So in the worker industry, because it creates, it almost connects the two, because now when you talk to people, they say, oh yeah, it's hard finding electricians and stuff because it's like finding dinosaurs almost. With building automation, it connects that gap because automation is a lot of configuring. So you have computer, and then you also have the physical wiring. It's the future of the industry. It's the future of electrical. And so we're really excited to implement that. And just a little background of what true automation is. Most of the time when you talk to people, they'll say, oh yeah, I have a smart home, or I say something. That's not automation. Automation is when something automatically happens with nothing being done. Obviously now, with the technology we put in, we do have those practical things where you can touch something because people just like to push a button, or you can press a button on an app, or you can walk in and motion can detect that, or you can say something. We hear a lot about that. That's kind of old school. The future is more or less where everything is configured. So you walk into a room and, because we can do anything. So this technology is also, in Europe, it controls cities. It can control as small as an apartment building. So the scale of it is pretty grand. And so we're just really excited with that. And so back to kind of like the practical side of automation is, so you can press a button, or you could make it so motion detects, or you can also make it where everything just automates. So like just some fun things where you get out of bed late at night, you can have it so when your foot touches the ground, the lights turn to red, because in your REM, which your REM cycle, it won't open, it won't get you out of sleep. So then the lights just turn to a dim red light, and then the lights follow you to the bathroom, and then you go back to bed and the lights automatically turn off. That's just one thing that's kind of fun. And then also with hotels, so some of the things that you get your ROI on is that you have HVAC, you have your lighting and stuff. If you have a 450 room hotel, how can you tell whether the lights are off or anything? Well, with automation, you can put on a schedule, and then that schedule can be configured to the person's stay. So what that means is they would have total operational power while they're in the room, and then when they leave, it goes back to the schedule of the GM or whoever has controls of that. So that's just a little piece of it, and then there's so many other things that it can do. So it's just fun seeing the ability of technology now. And so, yeah.
Well, I'm fascinated. I'm really fascinated. And I remember, I love that you're telling us and explaining to us what automation is, what people think it is, because I love that you're saying it goes on. You don't have to react to anything; it just happens. And I remember many years ago, installing a central air conditioning system. And my favorite thing was I'd pre-program it, so before I even got home, it would kick on. I wouldn't have to wait for that 20 minutes for it to get down to the temperature. It would automatically kick on 20 minutes before I got home, and so whenever I arrived, it was comfortable, and it would kick off at night after we fell asleep. And it was just such a fascinating thing. But to now know, not only can you have sensors in your home that censor when you get up, but it even changes the light color so that it's not white and bright,
it goes
waking everybody up.
Yeah, it goes further too. It can control your shade, so like, for example, instead of turning your air conditioning on, even if you do have, say, your setting where you come home and it's at that threshold, it can also detect the temperature in the room, but it can detect where the sun's coming from. So then it can lower your shades also. And then it also detects the amount of sunlight that's in your room or in a hotel or anything. So then it can automatically tell not to turn the light on if your threshold is set at a certain amount. So like when you, for example, how that your return on investment would be so that you don't have to rely on you knowing, hey, the lights were set at 80%. If the sun comes in and it's above that, it won't turn the lights on. It won't turn the HVAC on. It'll first primarily focus on lower electrical costs, like lowering your blinds, so the shade will protect that. So then your HVAC and your threshold. So there's so many more things that it does, and it's just really exciting. And there's way more that it can do. It's just scratching the surface with everything. And it also, like, controls and switches are actually mesh, so you can just have like a little, like a piece of tape or something on a wall, and that's just to identify so you know where the switch is. You can make it so you just press the wall, and then the identification for the piece of tape is just so you know where it is. So you could technically just have a switch and only you know where it is. So it's pretty neat.
That's fascinating, and I'm so thrilled that you're here on Maui with us, bringing us this type of automated technology, and as you're saying, really smart. This is smart. It's doing it for us without us having to do all the work. But I love that it can also, it's looking at how to, again, also be very energy efficient. And, for example, like you said, instead of kicking it on, then we can, it'll, instead of kicking on the AC, it'll lower the blinds first. And so then you might have a few more hours of lowered blinds that otherwise you would have had your AC on. So that's super cool, too. What are some of the other services that you offer that people should know about? And then I'd love to have you tell us how people can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. So with building automation, there's also, we can do security. We can also do pool control, irrigation, anything that electrical can control. We can definitely install that, and just general electrical. And then, pretty much we are a C13 contractor, so we can do any electrical work. We focus on commercial and residential. So, yeah.
Fantastic. And lots of opportunities in the hotel industry, which is spectacular, too. And how do people best contact you and find you?
Yeah, so you can visit our website at www.mauielectricians.com, or you can contact us at 808-844-9638.
I'm going to have you say both of those again so we make sure that they connect.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's www.mauielectricians.com. And then our phone number is 808-344-9638. And our email is info@mauielectricians.com.
Thank you, Zach. Well, we're so thrilled to have you on Island, have you as a chamber member, and to know the amazing work you do. Thank you for joining us and educating us on smart systems and all things that Maui Electricians can help us with.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on.
You're very welcome, and I just want to wish you a great day and be safe.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Aloha. Okay, I know Gary is working, and he is going to text Joe Pluta. Joe Pluta is able to join us, so we're excited that we are able to reconnect with him and hear all things West Maui. And while Gary's doing that, I mean, how fascinating is it? One, we're talking about all these the appliances and phones and gadgets, and the work that what it takes what they're doing to build these networks to keep up with that demand, and then we follow that by learning about all of these smart devices and ways to do things in your home, your pool, your irrigation system, security, lighting. You can turn on and off your air conditioning system, your television. I mean, it's just fascinating, all the things that can be done these days. And how unique that we can do that also with little pieces of tape on the wall, so nobody even needs to know, nobody knows where the switches all are. That's very interesting to me. How we doing, Gary? We got Joe on? Oh, they must still be talking. Okay. Well, while we get Joe on, we've been watching the storm, and I hope people are prepared. It's, it is hurricane season, so even though this storm has been downgraded from what we first heard, which sounded really scary a few days ago, we do want to always encourage everybody to be ready, have water on hand. We always see runs for water and rice and things at the last minute. But, rice is such a staple in our homes. It's always good to have that and water. Can we get Joe on, Gary?
Yes.
Oh, good. Fantastic. Hi, Joe. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. Well, we introduced you earlier, so if you don't mind, I'd love for you to we'll start getting into some of the updates that we told people you would give them. How about if we start with the Kahana Bay Restoration Project?
Oh, excellent. Thank you. Yeah, the Kahana Bay Restoration Project is maybe one of the most exciting things that has been in the works for the last several years to preserve and protect that gorgeous Kahana Bay.
Yeah.
In an incredible new way that is benefiting the entire community at the expense of the owners in the area in a community facilities district who will pay for the total cost, and everybody gets the benefit at their expense. Everybody wins. It's the best win-win situation that you could ever imagine.
Well, it's such a treasured bay. So how are they doing this protection? What is it that they're doing?
Well, it's a very elaborate study that's been. There's an environmental assessment report to preserve and protect Kahana Bay. They've looked at all types of potential scenarios that could be possibly done and ways to do it. An ocean engineering firm prepared an environmental impact statement with other special consultants. Many hundreds of thousands of dollars have been devoted towards this effort so far at the sole expense of these Kahana Bay Steering Committee of 10 property owners in the bay there. And what they've found that we have to do what's called a community facilities district. And
say that again. What's called a district? Say that again.
You know what that is?
No, I didn't. I couldn't hear what you said.
Did you hear what I said?
You said you have to look at what's called and I couldn't hear it.
You couldn't hear what I just said?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry. My gosh. I don't know why that is. Something wrong with my phone, or what? Can you hear me now? Fine?
I can. Yeah. No, I heard everything up to you were saying that ocean engineering firm, is involved, and I heard up to, that there's tremendous spending, hundreds of thousands of dollars on studying and the work, and then it sounded like you were just trying to tell us kind of what they're looking at to do the protection.
Yeah, well, the long and short of it all, their final recommendation was to do T-groins, T-groins out to the ocean, which they have exhaustive studies and research showing that it is a truly workable, effective way to restore and protect that beach so that that actually would be a beach for the people in the community to have access to and enjoy at the expense of those property owners, and at the same time to preserve and protect the properties themselves. And it's just such a win-win situation for the entire community and the property owners. And this community facilities district allows a special taxing to be done, and it's imperative that it gets passed.
Yes.
The county has to adopt a policy called a community facilities district policy.
So let's talk about that, because I know this is something that has been proposed in the West Maui area before. And again, as we look at, and tea groins are something that I think we're going to continue to hear more about as we look at, what's happening with SMA areas, shoreline management, managed retreat. We're going to, the challenge is what's happening with the erosion, and how do we, continue to have those beautiful areas be protected, and how do we protect the properties in the area. So this community facilities policy, district policy could be a tremendous asset. Tell people, Joe, about how long you've been working on it and what it would do.
Well, the community facilities district is an overlay district allowing the landowners in that defined geographic area, those 10 property owners, to pay for special improvements. And the creation of a community facilities district is permitted by Hawaii revised statutes and county code for the Maui County. The county council needs to adopt an ordinance and a policy to permit that specifically, and then there'll be a public hearing, and then all this information can be talked about, again, to anybody who has questions. There's so much information available about this, the exhaustive studies that have been done. It's just so exciting to see that this can be done, and we just got to get out of the way and let these property owners move forward on this. Time is imperative, as you know. You never know.
Yeah.
The longer you wait, you get the if I would have, I should have, would have, and could have type of things.
No, exactly. Well, unfortunately, we don't have the leisure of time now. Shoreline erosion is happening. It's time that we really start protecting. It's important for people to understand, as we're looking at managed retreat, we need to really start having some serious discussions, because retreat to where? We've infilled in so many places. And again, for the public, these are beautiful areas. These are beaches that have been loved by generations, and we want to restore them.
I've lived here for 45 years, Pam, and 45 years ago I went down to that exact same beach. It was one of the first places I did at the Royal Kahana. I was assisting the developer of the Royal Kahana from Honolulu, and then I decided I love Maui so much I moved here.
That's your heart spot on island. Yeah. Well,
so I love that area. I know what it can be and what it will be again if the county council will just let this proceed. It has no risk whatsoever. All the risk and the costs and expenses being picked up by these property owners to pay, and the community facilities district, and that it has the same force and effect as if property tax. If anybody defaults, they can lien and assess properties. So it's a guaranteed way of repayment for the project, to finance it. And who benefits? Everybody, because everybody who comes to West Maui and knows how that beautiful Kahana Bay can be in its prime, and how it can be again, will see that they'll have the access to this beautiful beach and beaches and more access ways to it, better improvements. Just win, 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 win. We just got to let it happen.
And do we have a champion in our West Maui Council member, Tamara Paulton, on this?
Well, Tom Cook is the guy in this committee. We've talked, and he met with me in the steering committee there at the Bay, walked the site and everything. I was very impressed with the amount of time and research that our new council member Tom Cook did in that. I know that Tamara Paulton, our West Maui representative, is aware of this, and for some reason she seems to be more stuck on managed retreat, which is been looked at, and it's just not feasible there. It's not possible. Managed retreat has thoroughly been looked at, and it out of all the alternatives we're talking about, this tea growing project in a community facilities district is the absolute highest, best, workable solution for the benefit of everyone. And I don't know, some people just get stuck on this idea that nothing wants to be done to the ocean. You got to respect professional engineering studies and results, and these things work. They work. They've got, in Hawaii, they work. There's actual proof, and the studies prove all that. It's the best thing we can do, and we just got to get out of our own way.
Well, I think that's an important point. And the other thing I want to mention is that community facilities district policy can be in other areas as well. It doesn't. We're not just talking West Maui.
Anytime we're a people in a isolated or special area of the county would want to have some special improvements done that really benefit them, maybe, and they're interested in being able to pay for them, even though it would ultimately benefit the entire island. They still would feel that strong that it would their benefit is so significant that they'd be willing to pay for that improvement. Yeah, the same thing could be done.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us. We've got a couple of minutes, and I did make a big pitch, but I'd to encourage people to support the Oluwalu Fire Station, whether you're a resident in the area, on island, or a visitor here. But tell people a little bit quickly. I think we've got a minute and a half or so, but quickly, where are we at with the fundraising on the Oluwalu Fire Station?
We've retained Mauna Kea Haraga land planners. They're helping us. We had an engineering survey. RT Tanaka Engineers did engineering soil survey and cultural site survey and all that. We're proceeding along. We've got a conceptual design being done now of what it would look like when the fire station is going to be sitting on that site there. And can't wait to see that conceptual design, because when people get a chance to see that, that gives them a better flavor and taste of what it would be. Because so we got a lot of things in process, working towards this thing.
And then, Joe, tell them how we're going to have to go, but tell them how they can reach you.
Yeah, reach us at the West Maui Improvement Foundation. Our website, WMIF for West Maui Improvement Foundation, WMIFinc.org.
Awesome. Joe, it's been a great pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us. It goes quickly. I just want to wish everybody a safe few days as this storm comes through, but thankfully it's been downgraded. We want to thank you for joining us for Business Matters today. Hope you'll join us again next Tuesday, and send blessings and aloha out to each and every one of you.